Hello. My name is Charles Webster Bear. And today is November 29th, 2022, and I am in Redmond, Oregon, USA. And my website is globalinternetgovernment.com. And today I'd like to talk about depopulationism. Depopulationism. Say it with me. Pop. You lay shun ism. Now, I want to talk about depopulationism because I am a depopulationist. And towards the end of the video, hopefully you also will become a depopulationist. And then there'll be two of us. Depopulationism is a word. Now, I don't know who came up with the word depopulationism, but I came up with it in 2019. And if somebody came up with it before me, good for them. A job well done. Now, the word depopulationism can mean different things to different people, and that's fine. In this video, we're going to talk about what the word depopulationism means to me. And I suggest you make a video talking about what the word depopulationism means to you. Now, in 1980, the Chinese government came up with the one woman, one child policy. And in my opinion, that's what depopulationism is. In my opinion, the definition of depopulationism is as follows. It is illegal for any human being in the solar system to reproduce a second time for the first few centuries of this millennium, the third millennium AD. So that's my opinion of what the definition of depopulationism is. That if you're a human being on the planet Earth in the third millennium, and you probably are, then you can choose to have 0 kids, which is probably the correct choice, or you can choose to have 1 kid, which is probably the incorrect choice. But there's no third option. If you have more than 1 kid, you're breaking the law. And the law is depopulationism. Now you're probably saying, wait a minute, Charles, that's not the law. And you're right, it's not the law. But as depopulationists, we're trying to make it the law. And hopefully we'll succeed. And I've got the rest of the video to explain how we're going to attempt to do that. And it's a long video. So I became a depopulationist in 1985 when I was going to high school in Newport, Rhode Island. And I've been a depopulationist ever since. And I realized when I became a depopulationist that I was going to spend the rest of my life explaining this to other people with varying levels of success. And I was correct. So depopulationists want to create a decline in the number of people on the planet Earth. So there's 8 billion people on the planet Earth. And we're going to 9 billion and maybe 10 billion. The number of people on planet Earth continues to go up, as it's always done. And depopulationists think that's the wrong direction. Depopulationists, like myself, feel that the number of people on the planet Earth should be declining, not increasing. Because if the number continues to increase, we will make this planet uninhabitable for humans to exist on. So really, we're on a suicide course here. We're killing the planet, and then when we succeed in destroying the Earth, we will die with it. So it's my opinion that that's the wrong way to go. Depopulationists feel that we should choose the don't kill Earth option, as opposed to the option that we've chosen so far, which is the kill Earth option. Because human beings don't have the right to kill the planet, and we don't have the right to threaten the planet. We don't have the right to kill the environment, and we don't have the right to put the future of the environment in jeopardy. But that's what we've done because we're stupid and we're evil and we're insane. And so we need to change. And we need to get smart. And we need to go the other way and choose the don't kill Earth option. And that is a human population that is declining. We need to go from 8 billion back down to 7 billion, back down to 6 billion. And we need to keep going down until we arrive at a level that is sustainable. And nobody knows what that level is, but that's up for future generations to determine what that level is. Future generations will determine what the level is. but I'm going to guess it's around 2 or 3 billion. So that's what depopulationism is. Depopulationists are part of the solution, and non-depopulationists are part of the problem. Okay. Depopulationists are people who are intelligent enough to understand what's going on, and non-depopulationists are people who are too stupid to understand what's going on. And there are more stupid people on the planet than smart people. So basically, as depopulationists, we're outnumbered, but that's okay. It's okay. We're educators and we're teachers. And so we need to educate and teach the non-depopulationists what depopulationism is, and hopefully they'll be able to figure it out and join us and help us save the planet. So if you think about it, back in 1980s or even the 90s, if the world said, okay, China's right, depopulationism is the way to go, and everybody got on it, we'd be living in a world where there's, cleaner water and more of it, cleaner air and more of it, more room, and we'd be going in the right direction, and the air would keep getting cleaner, and the water would keep getting cleaner, and there'd be more of it, and we'd be going in the right direction, and things would be a lot better than they are now. See, things right now are bad and they're getting worse. But if we did what we were supposed to do in the last millennium and said, okay, China's right, we'll do this depopulationism thing, the world would be a much better place right now. And our standard of living would be higher. And, everything would be better. But we didn't do that because we're stupid. And so now we're in a fucked up situation. And, if we don't get on depopulationism quick, then we'll be in a situation where, we can't get out of. The problem will become so large we can't solve it. And we'll go past the point of no return. And then we'll be fucked even if we get on the depopulationism thing. It'll be too late. So that's where we are right now. So depopulationism good, depopulationists good, what we're doing right now bad, and non-depopulationists are bad. So you need to get on the right side, and then you need to get your country on the right side, and then you need to get your planet on the right side. And then we can all be on the right side together and try to solve this issue. Our species, the human race, is kind of like a cancer on the planet. We need to be symbiotic with the planet like all the other species. The enemy is us. We are the bad guys. And the solution to the problem is less of us, less of the bad guys. Okay. And that's depopulationism. And so that's that. So how do we advance the depopulationist agenda? Okay, the goal is depopulationism. So how do we achieve that goal? What's the plan? What's the plan? The only way we can save the planet is depopulationism. So what's the plan to implement depopulationism? Depopulationism is the destination. What's the roadmap to get there? How do we make this world a depopulationist world? Well, that's a good question. I spent the last 15 years of the last millennium trying to figure out that question. And in the year 2000, I figured out that question. And the answer is GIG, Global Internet Government. So I created Global Internet Government in the year 2000 in Portland, Oregon. And it's a world government. It's the world government. It's Global Internet Government. And Global Internet Government supports the depopulationist agenda and supports depopulationism in a legal framework. And so that's how we make Earth a depopulationist Earth, is by supporting the world government, GIG, Global Internet Government. So there is a world government on the planet Earth right now. It's called the United Nations and the International Monetary Fund. So the world government has existed for a long, long time, probably my entire life. It's the United Nations, and it's the International Monetary Fund. The International Monetary Fund deals with the world government's economics, and the UN deals with everything else. And GIG supports the UN and the IMF. GIG augments the UN and the IMF. GIG assists the UN and the IMF. GIG helps the UN and the IMF simplify things and explain things, and allows people to participate in the world government and contribute to the world government and understand the world government. GIG is also a social media platform, and it's going to have its own currency, which we'll discuss eventually, called FogBank. And so that's GIG. That's the world government. Now, if you look at the European Union, that's kind of that's a government for 27, 30 nations. And it's expanding and growing. And nations can enter it and leave it as they choose. And GIG's basically the same way. The European Union is for Europe. GIG is for the rest of the planet. So GIG is kind of like a European Union for everybody, including the countries of Europe. So that's a good way to think about GIG. That's probably the inspiration for GIG is the EU. But so GIG is going to take over the Earth, and then GIG is depopulationist, and so then the Earth will be depopulationist, and then the number of people will start to decline, and then the environment will be able to survive, and then humans will be able to survive. Now, GIG is fully down with freedom of speech and democracy. GIG is kind of like making the whole, there's like 230 countries in the world. So GIG like takes all the countries and makes them like part of the United States of America kind of thing. GIG is like taking each country, and that's like a state, and then it's the United States of Earth, or the United Nations of Earth, or whatever. So GIG basically makes the whole planet American. So GIG works perfectly with democracy, perfectly with freedom of speech. GIG supports it. However, if you are a communist country, that's cool too. GIG can work with you. GIG has no problem with communism. GIG's totally cool with communism. But GIG is a freedom of speech world government. GIG is a democratic world government. So there's a lot of wiggle room here. There's a lot of room to maneuver. Like I said, I'm good with the communists. I'm good with those guys. I like them. I dig them. I like the system. It's cool. But GIG is a world government which supports freedom of speech and democracy, and we can all work together. There's a lot of common ground here. There's more than enough common ground here to get this done. Okay. These are not obstacles. These are we can work through this very easily from an economic standpoint. It's cash that's going to grease all these wheels, and we'll get to that. It's called Fog Bank. It's the monetary system of the future, and we'll discuss that in detail eventually. So, let's recap, shall we? Let's do a little summary of what we've discussed so far. We're probably apes on a rock. And we need the environment to survive. Unfortunately, because we're stupid, we're killing the environment and thus killing ourselves with overpopulation. That's a real drag. It's a bummer. So is there something we can do about that? Yes, there is. We cannot kill the planet. Well, how do we do that? It's called depopulationism. Well, what's that? Depopulationism means that it's illegal for human beings on Earth to reproduce a second time for the next few centuries. And that's depopulationism. Okay, well, how do we install depopulationism on this planet with global internet government? Okay. Well, that sounds good. Yes, it does. So, that's the deal. If you're a depopulationist, that's great. Let's work to make more people depopulationists. If you're not a depopulationist, that sucks. You need to start reconsidering whether you're a depopulationist or not. And if you have 3 or 4 kids, you can still be a depopulationist. You can become a born-again depopulationist. And the UN and the IMF should have done all this long ago, but they didn't because they're just stupid idiots. But the real issue here is female reproductive rights. And what that means is that every female on the planet Earth has the right to total and free access to all forms of birth control, including abortion and education. And any government that does not completely agree with this is an illegitimate government and will be replaced quickly and peacefully by a legitimate government, which is global internet government. So really, it's the UN and the IMF that dropped the ball here. They should have been on this decades ago. They should have been all over this, but they weren't because they suck. So now it's time to stop sucking. So really, gig is the only way to unite the planet. And it's logical. It's inevitable. It's a world government. It's like, when you watch Star Trek, everything's cool on Earth because the people of Earth have elevated to a consciousness level where they aren't stupid idiots. And so everybody gets along and everybody's happy and everything's cool. Well, that's where we're trying to get to. And that's where we need to get to. And that's where we will get to. And the way we're going to get to that is through global internet government. But really, depopulationism isn't even an economic or government issue. It's a moral issue. There's too many people on the planet, so why would you make more people? There's there's too many people on the planet, so you don't need to make more people. So it all comes down to, morality and doing the right thing. It's a human issue, depopulationism. It's not a religious issue. It's not an economic issue. It's not a racial issue. It's not a national issue. It's a human issue. We're humans, and this is our planet, and we've trashed it, and now we're going to kill it because we're insane and we're evil apes. However, hopefully, we can rise above this and do the right thing and not kill the planet, because we're better than that. We're better than that, and we need to prove it now. And we will. And we will with depopulationism and global internet government and all that other stuff. So if you're a depopulationist like me, you need to say it out loud in public often. And you need to vote it. You need to vote for people who are depopulationists. And you need to vote only for people who are depopulationists. And you need to run for public office as a depopulationist. And you need to say, look, I'm a depopulationist. I'm right. It's now time for my country to be depopulationist. It's now time for my country to be right. And when countries become depopulationist, and when countries put depopulationism in their constitution and make it the law, that's when those countries will become part of global internet government. So let's say country X becomes depopulationist and puts depopulationism in their constitution, and it becomes the law for country X. Well, then country X will be part of global internet government. They'll be the first nation to be part of global internet government. And I want that nation to be my country, America. Now, China will always be country X. China will always be the first country that kicked off depopulationism. China will always be the country that invented depopulationism. China will always be the country that first instituted it. So China will go down in history as, the leader, the country that got it right first. And so China will always go down in history as the right country, the good country. But that's last millennium. I'm talking about this millennium. I want America to be the first country to do it in this millennium with a world government. And so that's what I'm working on. But you should work on yourself and become a depopulationist, and then you should work on your own country and make that country depopulationist. Anyway, the first country to become depopulationist will be the first country to be in global internet government. And then you want to get a second country in gig and a third country in gig, and eventually you want to get all the countries in gig. And that's how it's going to break down, folks. And gig's going to have online voting so you can vote and Gig's going to have online cyber currency called FogBank, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And Gig's going to have everything you need to have your government right there online. So your government will be right there on your smartphone, 24/7. So all your government needs and questions can be answered, and all your government stuff can be taken care of right there on your cell phone. So everybody will be an active member of this world government. Everybody's vote will count. Everybody's money will be legit. And, this is just progress. This is how things get better. This is how things evolve. This is the evolution of technology, money, government, and even religion, because depopulationism is the religion of this millennium. It really is. I'm a Buddhist, but Buddhism isn't a religion, it's a philosophy. If the universe does not exist, then what are you? You are the soul. But the universe probably exists, and we assume it exists. And that's a good thing. And that means you're not the soul. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about religion, except to say that depopulationism is the new religion for this millennium. And just thought I'd throw that in there. So, let's get to FogBank. FogBank is my cyber currency. And it's 100% transparent. So I created this cyber currency in 2019, FogBank. And the unit of currency is the FogBuck, FOGBUK. And that's singular. Plural is FogBucks, FOGBUX. So the unit of currency is the FogBuck, and it costs 1 American cent. And you can buy as many FogBucks as you want. Each FogBuck costs 1 penny. And anybody can buy as many FogBucks as they want. Up to $1 billion worth of FogBucks. You can't have more than $1 billion American dollars worth of FogBucks, because then you have too much money. So there's a limit on the amount of money you can have, because you don't want to have too much money, because then you become some kind of freak. Also, nobody can be broke, because we give everybody a certain amount of currency. So there's a roof, a billion, and a floor, which the floor will constantly go up and the roof will constantly come down. And eventually the wealth discrepancy will shrink, as it should. But anyway, so FogBuck, 1 penny. What is the value of a fog buck? Nothing. Zero. Zip. Squadoosh. Nada. Bubkus. Now, hopefully, ideally, the value of the fog buck will increase. It can't decrease because Fogbank doesn't do debt or loan. So a fog buck is worth nothing. Hopefully someday the value of the fog buck will increase to something. If it does, that'll be great. If it doesn't, oh well. If it does, then it will do what currencies do, which is fluctuate and go up and down. And it may fluctuate and go up and down and return to zero for a while. That's a possibility. Anyway, hopefully at some point the value of the fog buck will increase to a substantial and significant and relevant level. And that'll be a good thing. By the way, I own all of Fogbank and all of Global Internet Government. I just want to throw that out there to make sure we're all on the same page here. Not only do I own 100% of Fogbank and Gig, but I will always own 100% of Fogbank and Gig. And when I die, Fogbank and Gig will merge into one thing called the Capital, and it will become a nonprofit international thing. And its headquarters will be based in Alaska. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about Fogbank. Fogbank has a unit of currency, the fog buck, and that's 1 penny each. You can buy as many as you want, up to $1 billion American. And the value of the fog buck is zero, and hopefully that'll increase to something, and then it will fluctuate to whatever, up and down. And that'll become the that'll be a cyber currency, and then it will become the cyber currency, and then it will become the currency, and then it will become the only currency, because it's the only clean currency and it's the only fair currency, and it's the only transparent cyber currency. And every fog buck will have a unique fog buck number, and every Fogbank transaction will have a unique Fogbank transaction number, and the entire history of every unit of currency will be available for everybody to follow everywhere all the time, so everybody can see where all the money is and the entire history of the money, so they can see where it is and where it came from. So it's totally transparent. And that's why it's going to become the only currency that exists, because everybody will put their money in Fogbank, because everybody wants their money to be as clean and fair and transparent as possible. That's the evolution of money. Gig is the evolution of government. Depopulationism is the evolution of religion. You know, all these things are improving and getting better and changing and evolving, and this is where we're at now. And this is where we're going forward from into the future. And it's a good thing. It's the only thing. We have to do this. And so that's the deal. That's the deal. I'm going to go get some coffee here. I love coffee. I love coffee. I love coffee. I hope you like my hat. I know I like my hat. So this has been a really good video. It looks like I'm coming in at under an hour, which I guess is a good thing. But let's talk about my favorite subject, me. Me. My name is Charles Webster Bear. I'm 53. And no kids, no wife, no ex-wife. I'm straight. I'm Buddhist. I'm a libertarian, which means I'm for less government and more freedom. And I'm running for president of the United States of America in 2024 and 2028, so please vote for me. Thank you very much. I was born and raised in Santa Cruz, California. And I went to high school in Newport, Rhode Island. And I went to college at the University of Hawaii in Hilo on the Big Island and graduated in 1994. And then I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then in 1999, I moved to Portland, Oregon. And then in 2007, I moved to Bend, Oregon. And in 2014, I moved to China for 3 years. Then I moved back to Bend. Then in 2019, I moved to Redmond, Oregon. And I'm still here. Even though I'm thinking about moving to the coast this winter. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. So that's me. But yeah, so vote for me for president of the USA, man, because, you know, it's time that we had real leadership in this country. It's time that we had a real world leader as president. Someone with a real vision of the future, not only for America, but for the whole planet. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Bear 24. It's how we do. Yeah, it's good. Good coffee. Decaf. Yeah, well, I like this video. I think it's a good video. I think we talked a lot about good stuff. And basically what I did was I explained everything to you. So now it's up to you to get off your ass and make your own damn video about this shit, talking about what you think about this stuff, and then get politically active and get get in the political mix, man, and start making stuff happen. So I really can't think of anything else to say here. I mean, yeah, I could babble on forever, but it seems like I'm coming in under an hour, which is about where I want to be. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day. And peace in the hood.